I was in this friend group. I'm over it, but I'm not gonna lie, like that junk hurt. Am I just annoyed that she didn't reach out to me? We're all a villain to somebody. Like you can't really take rejection personal because sometimes it actually has nothing to do with you. It's not gonna be a lesson until you go through it. God will always find a way to get what you lost back to you.
A seat at the table.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode and season of A Seat at the Table. It's your girl Tealine Matilda, and yeah, you guys, it's a new year, new season. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, you guys, I miss you guys so much. Like, I'm so glad to be back. I took a little break, but I'm back. Before we get into the episode, first things first, A Seat at the Table is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere. So make sure you guys follow me on there, and yeah, you can listen to me anytime, when you're cooking, when you're cleaning, when you're driving. Like, you can just put me on anytime. So yeah, that's exciting. And then also, of course, I have my reflection journal that I created for this podcast. So yeah, you should definitely get one because it's like really good. And I'm definitely a journaler. So if you like to journal, if you just like to process your thoughts, if you like to just pray through journaling, then, go ahead and get your journal. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Also, make sure you follow, make sure you like, make sure you comment because yeah, just join the family. Today I'm going to be talking about rejection because I feel like rejection is something that like I've dealt with a lot in the past. And the crazy thing about rejection is I feel like it comes in different forms. The most like conventional way we see rejection is through like a missed opportunity, or through like, let's say you apply for a job and you didn't get the job, or you apply for a school, you didn't get into the school. Like, that's what I used to think of rejection. I feel like I didn't really realize that what I was experiencing was rejection until I actually started like journaling and actually thinking about how I actually felt. That no, like I have experienced rejection in different ways, and you probably have too, and you probably didn't like attribute it to rejection. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about rejection from a different lens, and also kind of like demystify it, because I feel like sometimes we just make it into like a cliche, make it seem like it's just like something it's not. And like before we get to like the healing of like rejection is God's redirection, like I hear that all the time, let's actually unpack like what it is, why it stings so bad, how to like overcome it practically, and like what it actually means like within the context of faith. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, rejection. So first and foremost, I feel like this podcast was kind of birthed out of rejection. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, because the whole concept of a seat at the table is like this idea that like I'm creating a space for myself. I feel like when I really got the clarity and the vision needed for a seat at the table, it was in a season of my life where it was just me and God. And I feel like when you're in those seasons where, let's say, you've been rejected from certain people, you get closer to God. Like, by fire, by force, you will get closer to God, because you have no choice but to lean into God and to seek Him and to really allow Him to work in you. So I feel like a seat at the table is kind of born from that place of like, I have to make space within myself. I have to make space within myself to deal with my emotions, to deal with my thoughts, to heal, and allow my table to be set by God Himself. I cannot create a table somewhere that God doesn't want me. I cannot force myself to sit at somebody else's table. So that's the whole idea of a seat at the table. And honestly, I feel like being rejected from certain opportunities, or from certain places, will really force you to find the worth within your own self. Sometimes I'm grateful for rejection, because I feel like if I hadn't been rejected from certain places or opportunities, I never would have been able to push myself to be who God wants me to be. It's like you can create a system around other people and other people's perception of you, other people's value of you. So if you're not rejected at least once or twice, you're never going to be able to see that there's something inside of you, that God has a plan for you, that God loves you as an individual, personally and intimately, and He knows you. And it's through rejection that you're able to get to that place. So that's kind of how a seat at the table was formed. me not always having a seat at other people's table. But I think one of my first instances of rejection that I can remember that comes to my mind was when I was younger. I feel like I've always like struggled with anxiety, but at the time I didn't have language for it. Obviously, like when you're younger, you don't like there's certain emotions you just don't have language for. And I also think like mental health wasn't a conversation that was being had the way it is now. Like I'm not gonna act like it was a long time ago because it wasn't, but at the end of the day it wasn't a conversation in our community. And so when I was younger, I did not really like engaging with people a lot because of anxiety. And I feel like because of that, like people put a label on me that I was like rude or disrespectful. I remember I went to like this auntie's house and she used to like watch me like when my mom wasn't around and stuff. And every time she would like force me to like say hi to everyone, force me to say hi to her, like force me to like go out my way to be talking to people. And number one, I just feel like that like kind of created a system in me. It made me normalize this whole idea of stretching myself to please other people or prioritizing the way I'm received by other people. Like in that moment, the priority wasn't on how I felt because I was so young, because I didn't have language, I couldn't advocate for myself. The priority was out on how I was perceived. Not to mention that my intention was not, because she tried to make it seem like I was rude, I was disrespectful. My intention was not to be rude or disrespectful. Now, mind you, I'm not going to sit here and act like I was the most respectful kid, but I knew when I was trying to be disrespectful. You get what I'm saying? Like, I could tell when I'm trying to be rude. That was not my intention, but because of that was, I guess, my impact for her. And because of that, like, stigma, especially within African culture, behind, like, you have to greet everyone, you have to say hi to everyone, I forced myself to be somebody that I'm not. I'm actually naturally introverted. I feel like I kind of grew out of it. Like now I'm like like an ambivert. Like I could be introverted, I could be extroverted. Like, I just gotta, recharge, spend some time alone, come out, pop out, come back. You know what I'm saying? But back in the day, it was like it was no type of extrovertedness. It was purely introvertedness, and I didn't really know myself like that to be able to say this is who I am. And so that's another reason why when I have kids, I'm not forcing them to speak to people that they don't want to speak to, because I feel like social skills are built over time. I don't even know why we try to like force kids to be social when it's something that even you as an adult sometimes is hard being social, or sometimes you have to like practice how you engage with certain people, or you work through your own anxiety. So I don't see why that should be a standard as to why you have to hug everyone great. Anyway, that's part of the reason why when I'm a parent, I'm not forcing my kids to do that. But yeah, that was like one of the first instances of rejection, because I was just like, it created a system of like, no, like you have to, or you're going to be labeled as a certain type of way. And it's like, think about your own life. Think about how people may label you. Maybe you're the type of person where you're to yourself. People may label you as prideful. Or maybe you're the type of person that speaks your mind. People, instead of them interpreting it as you being audacious, they interpret it as you being rebellious. Like, we're all a villain to somebody. One person could see a situation one way and the other person may see it in another way. So it's like you can't really take rejection personal, because sometimes it actually has nothing to do with you. Sometimes the way people interpret certain things is based off of how they view life. If someone has a bad mind, they're always going to assume the worst in people. If someone has a good mind, they're always going to assume the best in people. So you have to kind of take rejection as a grain of salt. Obviously, you could always look introspectively, but other than making sure that you were trying your best, doing your best, there's really nothing more than you can do. That was like one of my first instances of rejection, and I feel like that created a system in my life where I felt like my worth was tied to how other people received me, how other people perceived me. And it wasn't until I saw the detriment of that system that I was able to have language for what I was feeling and be able to break out of that and be myself and just not worry about what other people think. And that also shows how rejection is not always an opportunity. It's not always a place. It's not always even necessarily one person. It can be a version of life or a situation. Like, you can't always think that rejection is just like an isolated event. It could be a multitude or a series of situations. That was a time where I felt like I had to stretch to become more digestible, to become more acceptable. I think that there are also a lot of nuances that come with rejections, because I think that acceptance is needed in certain contexts. I think that people can be gatekeepers. I think people can hold positions of influence and authority, and sometimes you do need their acceptance to progress. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with recognizing that acceptance is needed in certain spaces. You do need favor in certain spaces. You do need certain forms of approval in order to progress in life. But I think to create systems around that is where it becomes detrimental. And so the goal is not to say I don't need nobody. The goal is not to say that I, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what. No, the goal is to say, like, we have to stop creating systems around other people. We have to recognize where acceptance is actually healthy. There's a healthy acceptance. I think another nuance that comes with rejection is that it actually does sting. And I don't think you are weak, or you should feel weak for feeling that type of way if you are rejected. I feel like in certain spaces is like we try to jump to the outcome, or we try to jump to the lesson. It's like it's not going to be a lesson until you go through it. So it's like, if you are rejected from a job, if you're rejected from an opportunity, you don't have to skirt past that and just say, oh, well, one door open, another door closed. Yes, we know one door open, another door closed, but it's going to sting. It's going to hurt because you had an expectation. You had a hope. Like, even the Bible says hope deferred makes the heart grow sick. So it's normal for your heart to be disappointed if you don't get an opportunity. It's normal for your heart to be disappointed if something doesn't work out, right? So I also want to highlight that, because rejection actually does sting. It doesn't mean you're weak. Like, you could be a strong-minded person and still feel like, wow, like, I really got rejected. Like, I put my all into that. I applied to that school. I studied and I still didn't get in. You know what I mean? So you shouldn't feel guilty, or you shouldn't feel weak for dealing with the weight of rejection. I think rejection is failing to experience the fullness of something that you value. So if you value something, not having access to that specific thing feels like rejection. If you value a friendship, not having access to that friendship feels like rejection. If you value even a certain version of life, a version of yourself, let's say you're hoping to, let's say, start a business and the business isn't booming, it can feel like rejection because you feel rejected from experiencing a blessing that maybe other people around you are experiencing, or something that you had hoped for. And so rejection also comes in forms of situations. It comes in the form of not having access to certain things. And so I think rejection is ultimately multifaceted. I think that that is one of the greatest ways to heal from rejection, because you have to know what you're dealing with. You have to know what exactly it is that you're feeling. And that's why I'm such a huge journaler, because it's like I have to know what I'm feeling before I could get over it. I remember like one of like my most, it's not recent, but an instance of rejection that happened for me not even too long ago. I mean, I'm over it, but I'm not gonna lie, like that junk hurt. I remember I was in this friend group, and now I have language for it. At that specific time, I didn't have language for it, and I feel like also what gave me language for it was actually explaining the situation to my other friends, that I realized how I actually felt. But I was in this friend group. Mind you, this is like a big friend group. It's not like 2 or 3 people. It's more than that. And the friend group was like going through a lot of stuff. And there was one specific person in this friend group that basically had beef with everybody in the group. So that kind of, I'm not trying to, defend myself. Everybody a villain to somebody, but to me that was ultimately a red flag when I ended up having a situation or having beef with this specific friend. She had beef with everybody in the friend group. So obviously after everybody responded to that, she decided she was going to make amends. So she decided to reach out to everybody, which is a handful of people in the friend group except for me. Now, looking back on the situation, I could definitely see how that hurt me, only because I felt like her doing that, number one, didn't give me the opportunity to reconcile what had actually happened in that situation. I'm the type of person that loves emotional safety. I love reconciliation. I love to have peace. So I felt like at that specific moment, I was rejected from having the opportunity to at least get the clarity and the emotional support that I needed in that specific moment. And that also felt like rejection because I felt like I wasn't valued. I felt replaceable. I felt like everybody else in the friend group mattered except for me. And now, if something like that were to happen to me now, I'll probably like brush it off because it's like not that deep. But at the time that I was in, it really did wound me in a way because I value friendship a lot. And I feel like when someone does that, it says a lot about how they see you. If they don't feel like you're worth fighting for, if they don't feel like the friendship is worth fighting for, it can definitely feel like rejection. And it wasn't until I had the conversation with my friends at the time, like telling them what had actually happened, that I realized I felt like rejection was the word that I felt like, because in that moment, it's like, I don't even know how I feel. Am I just annoyed that she didn't reach out to me? Am I just like annoyed that she had beef with everybody? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it was a lot going on at the time. But I feel like now I could definitely say that it was rejection that I felt. And it was also really weird because I just found out through like everyone else. So it's like, even if like cause she like had invited everyone out to lunch, even if she had like not invited me out to lunch, but at least told me about where she was mentally or what space she was in terms of our friendship, I felt like that would have been enough. But it was like the absence that stung the most. And I feel like that also ties into rejection because it's like, it's the absence that makes rejection feel so harmful. It's almost like grief. Like when you apply to the job and you have to sit in the fact that the job is not yours, or you want another, like you want to do something and you have to sit in the fact that what I want isn't going to happen. Like that dream that I had isn't going to happen. Whatever I plan isn't going to happen. Like, it's the absence that makes rejection hurt the most. It's not even necessarily the thing, because one thing I realized is I had to ask myself, like, with rejection is, what do I feel like I lost access to? What do I feel like I lost access to? And 9 times out of 10, whatever you feel like you lost access to can be found in another source. So I feel like what I think really makes rejection hurt is the absence. Because if you're saying that you got rejected from a job, you feel like you don't have access to money, you could get money at another job. Why does it hurt so much? Because you had your heart and you had your hopes on that specific thing and it's not there. So I always ask myself, what do I feel like I lost access to? Is it a feeling? Is it an emotion? Is it a version of life? And that is how I heal from rejection, because I realize that God is abundant and there's always provision. God will always find a way to get what you lost back to you. It doesn't matter how big you think that it is. It doesn't matter how valuable you think that it is. God is abundant. He has everything. Every single thing is in the hand of God. He created the world, he created the universe. So it's not an issue. It might be big to you, but it's not big to God. When you're able to figure out what you feel like you lost access to, you can always, always, always recover, because you can always ask God for whatever it is that you think that you lost. If it's a person or if it's a feeling, you can find that in another thing. And that's not me to say that you should take opportunities for granted either. Not at all. Like, but if you know that you've done everything you can, like you interviewed, you went to the interview, you prepared for the interview, you apologized, you prepared, you prayed, there's nothing else you can do. And I feel like that is also part of healing from rejection. When you know that, listen, I did everything I could do. If someone, like, if you go and if someone goes out their way to reject you, and you know that you were yourself, you did everything that you could, like, you can find peace in knowing that I did everything I could from my end. It's not to say that you should take opportunities for granted, but you should find comfort in knowing that if you do lose an opportunity, it's not the end of the world. So that's kind of how I healed as well in that situation, because I realized that God is going to send me people that value me. God is going to send me people that value my heart, that value my emotions, my feelings, that is not going to take me for granted and is not going to see me as replaceable. I think it would have stung less if I wasn't the only person she didn't like try to make amends with. But I think the fact that I was the only person really made me feel a kind of way. But honestly, in these situations, you just give people to God, because God will always vindicate you and he's always gonna show up for you. So that was one of the instances of rejection that I went through. I think when you connect faith to rejection, I think you have to be specific about how you feel. And part of that is realizing what you feel like you lost. I don't think rejection is one of those things that you just jump into another opportunity or you just pretend like it doesn't hurt. Because when you're not able to heal from rejection, that wound will follow you and follow you everywhere you go. You will walk into every room feeling like you need to be accepted. You will get into every friendship feeling like you can't speak your mind, because if you speak your mind, you're going to lose them. So it's so important to connect your faith and to heal and to journal and to really get to the root of your rejection. So I want you to journal and I want you to ask yourself, what do you feel like you lost access to? When you go into the archives of the situation, even if you have to literally talk to a friend about it or somebody that's not going to be biased, or even, I don't even care if you guys drag me, ChatGPT, just to hear another perspective outside of yourself, to just get the fuller picture. Do that. Like, talk about it out loud, talk about it to a therapist, talk about it to somebody you trust, and really get to the root of that. I think that's the key to healing and healing in real time. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I hope that this helped you, hope that this encouraged you, or whatever season of your life that you're in. And God willing, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.